You know, as much as heartbreaking as it is to see a wonderful brand, a wonderful TV brand go down, which we've been talking about them on the last few previous videos on this channel and whatnot. And it's just a little bit sad that honestly that the future of VIZIO is just not looking very bright, or at least very good at the moment. Now, VIZIO may not go away. I might just be pretty much speculating at this point. But as just as much as I like VIZIO and whatnot, honestly, VIZIO has made some incredible, nice TVs. And VIZIO has been also good at making TVs that meet gamers' expectations, and if not, basically overdoing the expectations, well, pretty much under delivering, meaning the gamers are getting more than what VIZIO is pretty much saying. And right now, I have two VIZIO P-Series Quantum TVs from 2020. Now, they also made a VIZIO P-Series Quantum for 2021, but it had some downgrades and some upgrades over the 2020 model, which is the two that we got. But the response time, a thing that is very, very important to gamers, that was one of the downgrades. Now, the upgrades was it had, honestly, slightly better, brighter HDR highlights, but honestly, the HDR highlights, they still look incredibly good on the 2020 PQ9. If you was wondering, the P-Series Quantum is technically called the VIZIO PQ9. That's basically the Roman numerals of the P-Series Quantum. And VIZIO has released two new TVs for 2024 in the end of 2023, however. And there is a VIZIO Quantum series, and then there is their top of the line, which is the Quantum Pro series. Now, yesterday we made a video talking about the Quantum Pro is actually going to be the TV that we're going to get hopefully in a month from now, pretty much like as soon as we get our first paycheck in the month of March. And honestly, March is looking really solid. We actually have 3 checks in that month for pretty much to save money to basically pay our bills and whatever. So the VIZIO Quantum Pro is definitely not going to be a perfect TV by any means, but it definitely looks like that it's going to be a fabulous budget TV with high, insanely specs. Now, this TV, as you remember seeing on our video, for those of you that are already subscribed that did watch that video, have already seen that for gaming, it's got insanely incredible specs. Like, it's got really nice rich colors. It's also capable of 4K 120 hertz. On top of that, being able to play at 1080p to 40 hertz, and then the response time is pretty decent overall. And then the HDR highlights did, however, off of ratings.com, they looked like they're not going to be like bad, but they wasn't also not like as supreme or whatever. But the HDR highlights, if I were to be a betting guess man at this point, they're probably going to look very, very similar to our P-Series Quantum that we currently have right now, which has some really good, decent, like, natural HDR. Like, honestly, like, if you wanted to compare HDR highlights, okay, the TCL QM8 has the best bright highlights in HDR over numerous other TVs, and that's even saying something. But when it comes to like HDR highlights that also look like extremely like natural, like almost like real life looking, the VIZIO P series, the PQ9, I should say, absolutely looks like so pretty that it almost looks like the game looks like it's in real life. Like the HDR highlights just on our PQ9 just look real good, real natural, and honestly, it almost just looks like you're pretty much outside in the outside world. Like that's just how good that it looks. So if I was to be a guess, a betting man right now, the Quantum Pro Series TV that we're going to hopefully get, it's probably going to look very, very similar. And honestly, I still got to give VIZIO credit for having some nice punchy, natural HDR highlights, especially when you're playing games that just looks incredible. But honestly, VIZIO I just think that VIZIO is just a brand that honestly does deserve a lot more love than what the consumers absolutely give. Now, I know VIZIO does have some problems with some of their TVs and whatnot, and I've noticed that from, I've seen like, ratings and such. But when I look at especially the Quantum Pro TV VIZIO, I've actually looked at the ratings from people that already got it, and I have not seen but only a select few negative comments, well, negative reviews, I should say, and I've actually seen mostly positive, and as of right now, on Walmart's website, the Quantum Pro VIZIO series is actually sitting at around 4.5, 4.6 out of 5-star rating. So honestly, I think VIZIO is not really as bad as what people are making it out to be. But yeah, but it's with all TV brands out there. Like even Hisense has had some issues with like firmware updates and whatnot. So VIZIO is not technically the only brand that's had issues. Hisense has. I've even noticed that the premium brand Sony and LG have as well. I mean, it's just what you're going to get with any TV brand out there. Like, it's just what any TV brand is going to have. There's always going to be some sorts of issues that you're going to have with any TV brand out there. But VIZIO, however, for gaming, that I can't still honestly believe that they are ahead of the game, even over the top 3 best brands out there, which are Sony, Samsung, and LG. So VIZIO is definitely ahead of them if you compare this new TV that we're going to get. Like, as far as I remember, LG, Sony, and even Samsung TVs, as I remember right now with the current TVs that are out, except for the newer versions coming in 2024, but the 2023 models that are currently available, I am pretty sure that there is none of them that can go up I screwed up there for a second. But what I'm trying to get at is they probably don't go up no higher than 120 hertz, no matter if it's at 4K or 1080p or 720p. They're still locked out at 120 hertz. Now, Samsung and LG, on the other hand, when it does come to 120 hertz, now this is somewhere I do give them credit, especially over VIZIO, Sony, or not Sony, Sony, I don't know. I'm like a little bit, like, I'm not there at the moment because I'm just, thinking of VIZIO, so correct me if I'm wrong. But what I'm saying is LG and Samsung do have the leg up when it comes to having all 4 of its HDMI ports be 4K 120, whereas VIZIO and Sony, and as well as Hisense and TCL, they only have 1 to 2 HDMI ports that are basically labeled as HDMI 2.1. So this is where I do have to give Samsung and LG some credit, because if you get LG's OLEDs or any of the top tier Samsungs, whether it be the QD OLEDs or the Neo QLEDs, all four of their HDMI ports are basically, you can get the best out of 4K 120 hertz on your gaming console or your high-end PC, or the list goes on, or even if you have some sorts of special made console that somebody can get to play games with that, which I doubt that that's even possible. But that's where I will give LG and Samsung the leg up. But here's where things are a little bit good for VIZIO, okay? Meaning that you can get 1080p at 240 hertz on the VIZIO P Series Quantum and such. Well, 120 hertz, but I mean on the Quantum Pro. VIZIO's just been really bad at naming their TVs, but the Quantum Pro series can actually do, like I stated, 1080p 240 hertz, and you have the option to play at 4K 120 on either your PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. But when I really think about it, when I honestly do think about it, I mean, it's not really as big of a deal as people are making it out to be for having all of its HDMI ports be 2.1, because, I mean, developers, they're not able to get, current generation games on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. They can't even get games to run at 4K 60 frames, let alone 4K 120. Now, Call of Duty is one of the only games that comes out every year that is at least got, some sorts of a 4K at 60 and 120 frames a second. If you play any of the Call of Duties on the PS5 Series X, the Cold War, Black Ops, and Vanguard, and then the newer recent Modern Warfare games, Modern Warfare 2 from last year, and then the newest, which is Modern Warfare 3, you can play those games at 120 frames a second at 1440p or 1600p or whatever that the resolution runs on. When you, especially on the PS5, if you have 120 hertz on the PS5 settings set onto automatic, you have the option on the game itself. And this is where I have to give credit for the PlayStation 5 over the Xbox Series X. However, you can literally go to the game settings if you're playing at 4K 60, and there will be an option on graphics that you can hit activate 120 hertz mode, and it will lower the resolution down to whatever the developer has got the game to run on, and it will play at 120 frames a second. And honestly, it's definitely a big deal, especially if you're used to 60 hertz. If you go to 120 for games like Call of Duty, it's definitely a huge difference, especially when it comes to performance, and that's what a good majority of gamers honestly do prefer. So honestly, with VIZIO actually ahead of the other top 3 brands when it comes to having higher refresh rates of up to 240 hertz. Now, TCL and Hisense are also alongside with VIZIO on this, but when it comes to LG, Samsung, and Sony, as far as I'm aware, their TVs are still only locked at 120 hertz no matter what resolution that you do play. So this is definitely an area that I will have to give VIZIO some credit. But as much as I hate to say it, I mean, VIZIO just, I like all the TV brands, but VIZIO is still very special to us. VIZIO is still a very special brand to us. You want a nice premium, affordable TV with nice, incredible picture quality specs. I mean, VIZIO is still up there with Hisense and especially TCL. What makes the Quantum Pro series even a better deal is that the 65-inch size is actually cheaper than the Hisense like U8K and the TCL QM8, and it's basically like around on par with like the U7K and the TCL Q7. But there are trade-off situations with the Quantum Pro Series VIZIO over the Q7 TCL and the U7K Hisense. And this is something that I did actually learn just yesterday. And that is pretty much that it is an IPS panel, which is basically known for having basically the worst contrast than a VA panel, which a VA panel gives you the best contrast close to an OLED. It's not perfect. OLED still beats it if you want zero issues with zero blooming, but a VA panel does, however, get really close as long as the TV has really good contrast ratio of anywhere from like 40,000 to 1 all the way up to like, 100, 200,000 to 1. You're basically only seeing almost like no difference at all between a VA LCD panel TV minus an OLED. So that is where an IPS panel does fall short on. But when I read on, ratings, and I've even had my friend and a really popular YouTuber by the name of Stop the FOMO, which you probably heard of him, I have heard that IPS panels attempt to be better than VA panels. Like, the gaming performance, the input latency, the response time is just a slightly tad bit better and faster on an IPS panel than on a VA. And apparently, colors apparently look more, better and look more, saturated and rich on an IPS panel than a VA panel, even though I personally thought that a VA panel, because of it having really good high contrast, I thought that that would help with, the colors and whatnot, but apparently that's not the case. Apparently an IPS panel apparently has better colors, or has slightly better colors than a VA panel and such, and the response time and input latency is actually better for gamers on an IPS. And now as I think about it, now it actually makes a lot of sense as to pretty much why that monitors, most of the monitors are IPS panels, and there's only like a select few that make VA panels. So honestly, like, as much as I have to admit it, VIZIO is not as bad of a brand as people make it out to me. Like, yes, I know one area that they do struggle on, and that is having, a SmartCast. The SmartCast platform is always buggy and just not really all that great. But if you're somebody that just buys the TV to basically play games and to, like, just to enjoy the picture and play your video games, maybe watch YouTube and such, honestly, I think VIZIO still makes some really nice, beautiful, incredible, affordable TVs out there. Like, I'm very excited to see what the Quantum Pro Series TV, I had to think of it for a second, but I'm very excited, and I'm really looking forward to pretty much seeing what the Quantum Pro Series VIZIO TV does have in stores for us. Because essentially, this might actually be VIZIO's last bit of TVs, especially here in the US. This could honestly be VIZIO's last bit of TVs, and so I actually want to get another VIZIO TV that honestly has really good gaming specs, that looks incredible, and has really great colors and just everything and all together. And minus having one HDMI 2.1 port, I definitely want to give VIZIO one more shot and get one more TV of theirs before they probably do stop making TVs. Now, I don't think they're going to go out of business because, they got so many TVs that people already own, and they're making money off of their, I think, SmartCast platform, even though it's not like all that good. But honestly, what I think is like VIZIO, like that they're still making money is what I'm trying to say. They're still making money as to all the TVs that all the consumers have, even from the old school HD TVs to like all of their recent newer TVs. But what I do think, however, is in the next probably year, maybe a little bit longer, I don't know, is I do think that they're probably going to just stop making TVs and they might start making, you know, other products and such. Because, I mean, Vizio definitely is not making as many TVs as they did, like, back in, like, 2020 and way before that. Like, they had, like, anywhere from, like, 4 to, like, 6 or maybe 7 different models that you could choose from. But now Best Buy not selling their TVs no more, and now they only got 2 TVs, unlike before. So that's what I think might actually happen is Vizio might actually stop producing TVs, and so if that is the case right now, honestly, I'm going to grab this Quantum Pro series here in the next month or so, then I'm going to do a review and hopefully check it out and have one more Vizio product before they just completely stop making TVs altogether. I don't think that that's going to happen because, I mean, Walmart did, however, just tell us that Vizio used to only be in their stores compared to Best Buy, and Best Buy seen that they was good and started selling them. But if it does happen, we'll have another good Vizio TV to hopefully buy one more time and have one more product of theirs before they completely go. So, yeah. I mean, it's just kind of sad because honestly, even with all the other brands, I honestly still think that for gaming, that what we like doing, Vizio does definitely still make good TVs, and especially really good TVs for gaming, like our P-Series Quantum that we currently have that honestly still looks incredible, even when you compare that TV with an OLED. The PQ9 still looks incredibly good. So, but that's going to pretty much do it for the video. So, hope you all enjoyed that video. If you guys could smack that like button. Also, subscribe if you are new to this channel, and we will keep you posted with future content like this going forward. And also, you could stay tuned in for our Vizio Quantum Pro Series TV for the review once we get it in just a few weeks from now. But also, leave us a comment down in the comment section down below of your thoughts. If you're somebody that actually does have a Vizio TV, or if you are a loyal Vizio fan, or if you don't like Vizio, and if you're, like I said, a loyal Vizio fan, and if this is actually heartbreaking if they do stop making TVs. So yeah, just leave us your thoughts down in the comment section down below if you love Vizio and you're, you know, an owner of a Vizio TV, and if you like them or not. So, but without further ado, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for the video. So rate, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next video. Peace